So we were talking about the idea of effective reach, right? That normally reach is just all the people that are potentially exposed to your message at least one time during a given period, like 1 month or in a media schedule. But with effective reach, we recognize that multiple exposures are often necessary to, have an effect on the audience. So here this graph shows that from 0 to 3 is the, ineffective reach. And we've got effective reach from 3 to 10, and that you see on the percentage side, on the left side, the percentage reached. So in this schedule, for example, at 3, we have 12% roughly. At 4 exposures, we have around 10% of our audience is reached. So we can say that, the audience is around 10% of the audience will be exposed roughly 4 times. And we can, again, in this media schedules with our agency, we can say, well, we want 3+ reach at 40% of women aged 25 to 35. Or we want it, a schedule that'll be 5+, meaning 5+ exposures at 50% of our target audience. And your agency can create a schedule that would deliver that, with a certain number of GRPs that's possible. And we also see that above 10 in this picture, above 10 exposures is, ineffective reach because of the wear out effect. Remember, we were talking about the wear out effect after seeing ads, especially for certain types of advertisements like humorous ones, for example. After the joke is already, you understood the joke, you've seen it a few times, it's funny, but if you see the same thing over and over and over and over again, it's really not funny anymore. It becomes irritating. So then now that we've looked at these various dimensions, reach, frequency, effective reach, gross ratings points, let's talk about costs. So the media costs, we can look at in two different ways. Absolute cost is the basic cost of doing whatever it is that you're doing. If you're going to do a certain media schedule, whatever that cost is overall, whatever you're kind of paying for comes out of your, you're looking at on the P&L statement, you've got it recorded on there. That's the cost, the absolute cost. And then we can also think in terms of the cost efficiency or the relative cost. We call it the cost efficiency. And this is measured in things like CPM, which stands for cost per thousand. Why is it CPM and not CPT? Well, it just is mille, cost per mille. It's like thousand, Latin for thousand. So cost per thousand means, what is the cost of that media vehicle? How much does it cost to reach 1,000 people with your message, with your advertisement? It's a typical standard measure because otherwise the numbers start looking like 0.00. If you said per person, how much does it cost per person? Well, the numbers start looking like $0.0001. That's not really useful, right? So that's why we multiply it by 1,000, and then we get the ad cost per thousand, so the cost per thousand. And CPRP is just cost per rating point. CPRP, cost per rating point. Those are measures of the relative cost. Then you can compare between different media vehicles, between different television programs, different magazines. What's the cost per thousand? Or even between different media itself, like between newspaper, radio, outdoor, and magazine. What's the cost per thousand? That's a way of judging the relative cost of these different media. So here we have a rate card from 1994, actually. It's kind of old, but This is for outdoor ads in the Minneapolis-St. Paul, what they call the Twin Cities region. The city of Minneapolis, the city of St. Paul, and this is in Minnesota in America. But this is for, if you look at the top left, where it's got the red underline, it shows that if you do the number of facings, so you can get from 5 to 19, 20 to 39, or 40 plus facings, then the cost goes down for 1 month. If you get from 5 to 19 billboards, outdoor, it costs $405 per month per billboard. If you do it, 20 to 39 in the schedule, you pay only $390 per billboard. If you do 40 plus for 1 month, it's $375 per billboard. And then you get discounts, not just for quantity, but for, scheduling it for multiple months and, multiple quantities. So you get like discounts, right? So cost is per panel per month. So if you do 10 billboards for a month, right, your absolute cost is going to be $4,050, right, for the total, plus the agency commission, 15% commission. Let's look at some cost per thousand comparing different media. And you can see that here, broadcast television is the highest cost per thousand at $10.25. Means it costs on average around $10 to reach 1,000 people with an ad. And it goes down, magazines, cable TV, newspapers, radio, and then outdoor is the lowest cost. Outdoor, and this gives you a bit of a hint about the effectiveness, right? Because typically we think more effective advertisements cost more, right? So outdoor, at $2.26 and radio at $4.54 per thousand, this should tell you that these are relatively low impact media, right? Not saying that they're useless, they are useful, but when you see a billboard outside your car window going, 90 kilometers per hour, it's not a very strong effect. What do you think internet banner ads would be? Well, banner ads are really among the cheapest, under $2 per thousand. And there's a reason for that. They're really ineffective, right? We for the most part, we either have pop-up blockers or the ads are in the corner of whatever, website we're looking at, and they're kind of a little bit invisible, right? When's the last time you ever really noticed a banner ad and paid attention to it? Maybe sometimes like Facebook advertising might be a bit, better, but that's actually a bit more expensive. It's not really just a banner. Actually, the most expensive is paid search. And here, it's around $75 per thousand clicks. Okay, so paid search means like cost per click, but if we're going to do it, make it equivalent in terms of cost per thousand, then it's around $75 per thousand. And you can think why that would be, right? Because it's expensive because people are already in an active search mode. They're searching for something. They want to buy something, and then when they click on whatever that link is to your ad, it means they're actively engaged. Maybe they're already gonna, they've already decided that they want to buy something. So it's a very valuable action. Whereas the other ads are more passive, right? They're kind of being forced upon the person. If you're watching television and then, the advertisement comes in between like the program during the ad breaks, you're just kind of passively watching it. You're not really actively seeking that information. So this is why paid search is, so expensive. It's because it's valuable. Now, another comparison, I won't spend much time on these, but again, you see like television is expensive. Again, like outdoor is relatively cheap. And there's some Etsy. Etsy is that, do it yourself handmade stuff that you sell online, and this is just for advertising on Etsy. Email is cheap. Social media, I'm not sure what Hey Handmade is. I've never used that. And again, another look at the various different media that you can use, and it shows like here direct mail and mail order catalogs are expensive because you're paying for the production of the ads, the physical medium, and you're also paying for the mailing costs, right? So the mail to send out this direct mail piece, you're paying for the production of the actual physical production of the mail piece plus the cost of mailing, and also sometimes the return mail. You put a self-addressed, stamped, pre-stamped envelope, so it makes it easier for the people to mail in something. It's quite expensive. Uh, and then the other ones, you have offline and you pay for the media costs, so it's high. You're paying for television and radio. But then with online, there's no distribution at all, and no media at all that's, has to be paid. You're paying just directly to Google or, directly for these display ads. So it's, relatively low cost. Okay, so let's do a short calculation. Let's figure out, we're going to do a cost comparison using the idea of relative cost or cost efficiency. So we're going to calculate the cost per thousand of two different one-page magazine ads. Time magazine versus Newsweek magazine. So the formula is really simple. It's just cost per thousand equals the advertising cost times 1,000 divided by the reach. So here it's the circulation. So the ad cost times 1,000 divided by the estimate of reach. And for print magazine, or for print media, we use the circulation figure here. So what does that come out to? Just take a few minutes. You can pause the video actually and figure it out for yourself. I think it's the best way to do it. But I don't want to take, this time, so I'm just assuming you're pausing the video now and do the calculation yourself, and then come back and restart the video. So the cost per thousand is, for Time magazine, it's $25.38 for a full page, full color page ad, one page ad. For Newsweek, again, pause the video if you haven't already figured it out. Just pause, do it yourself. Remember, it's ad cost times 1,000 divided by the circulation. So that comes out to 26.83. Now, in this case, if all things are equal, if Time magazine and Newsweek magazine are equal, and we're just looking in terms of relative cost, we would decide what? Well, we'd probably decide to go with Time magazine because it's cheaper, and if you look, the circulation figure is higher. But if we've got budget constraints in terms of absolute cost, the Newsweek is cheaper, and we might, maybe it's actually an issue. Maybe we can only afford this $22,000. That's sometimes the case. Or if we've got several, magazines in our schedule and we're advertising in many of them and we just need to make a choice and we can't find that $3,000 extra, well, then we're going to be stuck, paying a higher cost per thousand, but staying within our budget. So these are some of the decisions that we make, right, between absolute cost and cost efficiency. If it was me, I would go for the Time magazine, but all things equal, if we could afford it. But there's also something we need to do, and that's well, first let me just go through this example. Actually, I'm running out of time. I only have about 30 seconds left, but I'll quickly show you that this is a magazine for human resources management, and it just shows actually 3 different magazines and the cost of a full page 4-color ad for 1 times insertion. That's 1x, that means 1 time insertion, 1 ad per month. And you see the cost comparison, okay, in absolute costs. You also see the cost per thousand, right? So you can look at this, pause it, and just compare these different cost per thousands And we'll come back in the next video and keep going on about this.